Yes, folks, it's finally here. What you've all been waiting for, the Cybertruck delivery event, which shows the Cybertruck is now officially stuck in the mud.
Trucks have been the same for a very long time. Like 100 years. Trucks have been basically the same. We want to try something different.
And for perfect optics, it's getting rescued by a petrol-powered Ford pickup truck. You couldn't make this stuff up.
Yeah, I mean, we dug our own grave with Cybertruck. You know, nobody, in general, I find nobody digs their grave better than themselves.
Anyway, it looks like they've finally got single-digit numbers of trucks ready to be delivered. And given that they said they made their first one about 6 months ago, that means their amazing production record for the first 6 months was they finished almost 2 Cybertrucks per month.
What I can say is we're going to move to just truly massive scale. Scale that no company has ever achieved in the history of humanity.
Stand by, Jonah. We might need you quite a lot in this video. But I think we can all agree, with production numbers like that, Elon Musk deserves his rock star entrance here.
Welcome to the Cybertruck delivery event.
And they spent so much money on the truck that they couldn't afford lights anymore.
So, I'm going to do it from the back of the truck here.
Actually, I'm going to guess the whole no lights thing was quite intentional. For some strange reason, this clip keeps coming to mind.
Said you're going to make me look sexier, but it's awfully dark in here.
Light is not your friend. All right, let's do this thing.
Once in a long while, a product comes along that is rare.
Yes, folks, once in a long while, someone has the brilliant idea of designing a truck so ugly that it's best appreciated when the lights are off.
Is that it?
You know, with the Cybertruck unveil, it was all brightly lit, razzle-dazzle. They wanted you to see it. With the delivery event, it was kind of like they didn't want you to see what they'd made. You know, it's sufficiently dark that the cameraman actually has trouble finding Elon Musk in the dark.
Special moments.
You can also see instantly, if you compare between the unveil event some 4 years ago and the delivery event, there are things that they proudly proclaim in the unveil event.
But it's going to...
Oddly, at the delivery event, Musk doesn't mention once how much it costs and how far it can drive, but does find time to discuss these really important details.
We have Ethernet comms, distributed controllers, allows for 70% less wire in the car.
I mean, really, in the entire delivery event, not one single mention of the cost of the truck. Oddly, that's exactly what happened at the Tesla semi-delivery event. This was some 6 years after they promised a completely revolutionary truck that would be ready in a couple of years, where they had time to cover all the really important stuff like
To watch them put, I mean, I think they even took like a bunch of like the various cups and put them in CAD, and you'll see them like put them in various cup holder sizes and places.
Well, that's a wrap, folks. He did it. He revolutionized trucking. Guess we can all go home now. Seriously, they're time to mention the design of the cup holders and how amazing all the wireless charging and USB ports on a truck was going to be.
We've got the plugins, the wireless charging, everything they need on the electronic side as well.
But curiously didn't have enough time to cover some trivial details like how many they were actually delivering, how much they cost, and how much cargo they could haul. I mean, is it just me, or is there a sort of pattern here of promising something that is world-changing and revolutionary and then years late delivering a product that could be generously described as mediocre?
And that's why we are guaranteeing that this truck
will not break down for 1,000,000 miles.
Yeah, there you go. It's a Tesla truck. With the service battery coming up to it. Tesla service truck. Big Rick Wrecker.
Yeah, and there's only like 35 of these things on the road or something.
Starting with performance. So we have an acronym we came up with.
And ended up delivering literally the slowest truck on the road and fulfilled none of the crazy things that Musk had promised at the unveil event.
We're confident that this is a product that is better in every way from a feature standpoint, that wins on economics against diesel trucks in a worst case scenario, and that defeats rail in a convoy scenario.
Yeah, it's now the end of 2023, and they can do none, exactly none of those things. Meanwhile, this is what Musk was saying in 2017.
So I want to be clear, this is something we can do now.
Wow, this is all starting to sound very familiar. Long story short, the top of the range version was meant to have a range of 500 plus miles and cost about $70,000.
$82,000! This monstrosity cost $82,000!
What did Musk deliver? 300-mile range, and if we're doing a like-for-like comparison, $105,000. After all, that's what that little asterisk is there for. Curiously, Musk didn't need that asterisk when he was making his vaporware promises.
So that's the price without any incentives. That's just like the price without any incentives.
And it's also worth noting that while Musk boldly claimed what the stats were going to be some 4 years ago, now the stats are estimated price and estimated range. And if you're going to buy your truck now as part of the Founders Series, it'll go up to about $120,000. Yeah, that's before you start adding the bells and whistles. So ballpark figures, it delivers about half of what Elon Musk promised for about twice the price. That is, it's about 4 times worse than what Elon Musk promised.
We have a car here that experts said was impossible, that experts said would never be made.
Yes, and you didn't make it. But please don't go on to say that something delivers a quarter of what you promised is your best product ever.
That it really is the most. I think it's our best product. I think.
But that's just for the people willing to drop $100,000 to maybe get a truck. Sometime in the next year, maybe? You know, just to be clear, there are people who paid Elon Musk $250,000 for the Founders Edition Roadster back in 2017, and they're still waiting for their car. But on their website, they do state that if you do order the lower-end version, that they won't even think about starting to make these until at least 2025. So that's a year of Elon time. So in reality, what, 2029, 2034, that sort of thing? No, really, apparently everyone told Elon Musk it was impossible to make a needlessly heavy, overpriced pickup truck. It was just totally impossible. It couldn't be done. And seeing as this was the first day that they were delivering this amazing truck, it must have been a fantastic day for the Tesla stock, right? What's that? It had no effect whatsoever on the Tesla stock price. And if you're thinking, well, okay, so no one cares about the Cybertruck, when Musk said we dug our own graves with Cybertruck, it wiped billions off the stock value of Tesla. But hey, I remember the unveil event. The Cybertruck was going to have Tesla engineered
Thermonuclear explosion-proof glass.
Let's show the glass demo. Nothing. Yeah.
I mean, remember how much time they spent setting it up? They had cyberpunks dropping stuff onto Tesla, trademark, specially designed, toughened glass made by Tesla engineers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Until, of course, they came to actually try it out, and it didn't go so well.
Franz, could you try to break this glass, please? Sure? Yeah. Oh my fucking god. Well, maybe that was a little too hard. It didn't go through. So that's a plus side.
Let's try the right.
Try that one, really? Okay. Sure.
Oh, man.
It didn't go through.
Once every 5 to 10 years, something really special, a really unusual product comes along.
Any questions?
And we'll remember those special moments.
We sure do, Elon. We sure do. But hey, now we're at the delivery event. I'm sure Tesla is going to do it properly this time.
And Franz, maybe we should try it again.
Sorry, what's that? Rather than redesigning the car, they redesigned the metal ball to a baseball. Except that baseball bounces and sounds a lot like a tennis ball? Maybe a reminder of how bouncy baseballs are on a hard concrete surface. So now the Tesla engineered armored glass can take a devastating hit from the most noodly armed throw of a tennis ball. And yes, that little bit in the background there is the only mention of armored glass in the whole event. And for those who don't know, the special Tesla designed toughened glass is basically just regular toughened glass. There is nothing special about it. But let's just briefly come back to that decrease in range from 500 plus miles to estimated 320-ish. But now let's add in Tesla's documented history of exaggerating their range stats. When the battery was fully charged, they would just add something like 30% extra range to it so they could boast that the Tesla battery packs had more range than everyone else. And then, of course, when the battery got to about half full, they would update it to something more realistic, which got them so many complaints that they set up a call center to tell people, no, your Tesla is behaving within spec. So its range is basically completely vanilla compared to every other electric truck on the market. 300 miles range in total, so let's say 280 after their battery pumping scheme. Then on some of the Tesla superchargers, they will charge you $1 extra per minute if you charge over 90%. So let's give them the 90% value on that. So realistic range, 250-ish, maybe, 125 while towing something, and probably less than 100 if you're towing something in the cold. And if you think I'm just being mean to Cybertruck here, no, those are basically the stats for all of the other electric trucks as well. You know, that you basically halve your range whilst you're towing something, and you lose another 30-odd% when it gets cold. Now, sure, they say you can add a range extender, which apparently Rivian has a patent on or something, but that range extender is basically putting another giant-ass battery in the bed of the truck. And if you take some fairly sensible numbers for the size of the Cybertruck battery pack, then the range extender is basically going to be a long-range Model 3 battery pack, which weighs about half a ton, and likely Tesla will charge you the best part of $20,000 for it. It will take up half the space of the bed of the truck, with the other half, if you're so inclined, being taken up by a spare wheel. And yes, those are images taken off the Tesla website. Further, that half-ton battery pack will require specialized equipment to both put it in and take it out of the truck. It's basically useless. I mean, for me, these are just silly numbers. When I had a car in America, my car cost $3,000. The telescope that I carried around in the car cost more than the car. I'm currently in New York. I'm going to be following the setting sun with my telescope and various other stuff. to the Pacific. In the car we have planes, more planes, a camera that's going to be doing the time lapse for us. Oh, one last thing, here's some music. And it worked fine for the best part of a decade. The concept of blowing $150,000, it's getting on for the price of a house on a truck, is just kinda alien to me. Even more alien to me, however, is the idea that selling ludicrously expensive luxury electric cars to a select group of rich people.
Tesla currently sells twice as much in terms of electric vehicles as the rest of electric car makers in the United States combined.
Electric vehicles are a capitalist-friendly way for granola yuppies to do their environmental virtue signaling.
Tesla has done more to help the environment than all other companies combined.
For tech bros to feel intellectually superior, and for anxious parents to feel like they're building a better tomorrow.
It would be fair to say that, therefore, as a leader of the company, I've done more for the environment than everyone else, any single human on Earth.
Regret to inform, sir, that electric cars are only any better for the environment if you generate the energy from renewables. And America generates about 80% of its electricity from burning fossil fuels. You know, it's that whole carrying a ton and a half of batteries and metal and plastic around with you everywhere you go. As Wiki puts it, about 0.5% of the total energy is used to move the person, while the remaining 99.5% of the energy is used to transport the car.
Self-sustainable energy, we have to have a pickup truck. So I present to you the Cybertruck.
And now, out of pure green philanthropy, Musk has increased the amount of metal and batteries that you have to carry around with you, in the Cybertruck's case, to about 3.5 tons. 4 with the range extender.
It would be fair to say that, therefore, as a leader of the company, I've done more for the environment than everyone else, any single human on Earth.
And this lecture in self-righteousness was brought to you free of charge by a guy whose jet travel alone has a carbon footprint about 100 times bigger than the average person watching this video.
And what I see all over the place is people who care about looking good while doing evil. F them. Okay?
You see, basically, any form of public transport, you know, those things that Musk is vehemently opposed to, is about 10 times better for the environment than an electric car. In fact, it's since come to light that the only reason Musk proposed the Hyperloop, not his idea, just a vacuum train, but the only reason he proposed it was to try and sabotage the California high-speed rail. He tried to sabotage something that would have been better for the environment. For what? Insert your reason here, but presumably so he could sell more electric cars that would be worse for the environment.
And what I see all over the place is people who care about looking good while doing evil.
You don't say, Elon. You don't say. Anyway, back to Cybertruck. Yeah, they are hardly amazing stats for a truck. The only real difference is this has body panels made out of 3mm thick stainless steel, which is just a stupid thing to make a vehicle out of. Now, regular car panels are typically very thin, like sub-millimeter. 3mm alone is ludicrously thick for car paneling. Right, just so we're clear what we're talking about, this is roughly what stainless steel of about the thickness that you'd make a regular car body out of would look like. So it's fairly soft, fairly squidgy. It's a bit thinner, but it doesn't really matter. It's lightweight, and if you need to cut people out of it in the case of a car crash, then you can do it with things like the jaws of life. Meanwhile, you shift over to something that is, this is 3mm thick mild steel, but not only does this weigh an absolute bloody ton, it's solid. Yeah, so this is what 3mm thick steel looks like. And yeah, it weighs an absolute ton. So stainless steel and mild steel are fairly comparable densities, but this is like a 0.5 meter by 0.5 meter. It's like 1.5 foot by 1.5 foot. and that weighs 5.5 kilos, give or take 10 pounds. And that's like one small sheet like this. It's needlessly heavy, and what does it get you? Doors that weigh about 30 kilos. 60 pounds. Look, if you're worried that long-range batteries are too big and heavy and you're just carrying them around and it's just diminishing the performance of your car.
If you ask people that say, well, I want, 600 miles range. I'm like, okay, well, that means most of the time you're holding around a battery pack you're not going to use. So.
And it'll slow you down. It'll inhibit handling.
Yeah, it's like what?
Why are you adding a ton or so of weight to the mass of the truck for no tangible benefit? None.
So, and so people say like, well, why'd you make it bulletproof? I'm like, why not?
Because making the truck needlessly heavy is a really dumb idea. At least carrying a bigger battery around, you get some tangible benefit out of it. You get nothing out of making the car out of thicker steel. Now, initially, of course, it was going to be an exoskeleton, which is why I needed this thick paneling on it. But they basically ditched all of that in favor of a regular car construction with heavy metal panels stuck on top of it. Now, sure, 3mm stainless steel can stop low-energy, non-hardened bullets. And sure, the windows are mostly tennis ball proof.
How tough is your truck?
Look, there's a lot of reasons why stainless steel, let alone 3mm thick stainless steel, has never taken off in car production. Firstly, stainless steel is hard. It's a pain in the ass to drill, cut, and so forth. And while it being thicker means that it's hard to dent, in the event of a dent, it's basically impossible to repair. It also means that in the event of a crash, you're kinda screwed. Ballpark figures, stainless steel is roughly twice as hard to cut as regular steel, so here's just some cutting tool that'll cut through about 0.8mm of stainless steel sheet or 1.5mm of mild steel sheet. Things like the jaws of life are designed mostly to cut through pillars and the such like, made up of 0.6mm steel. They have zero chance of being able to cut through 3mm stainless steel.
And so people say like, well, why'd you make it bulletproof? I'm like, why not?
Because in the event of a crash, you will have to wait for people with cutting torches to cut your body out of the wreckage. Might be kind of an anxious time, if, say, there's something that might happen in an electric car crash, like a battery fire. Yeah, it's not just going to be Musk saying, we dug our own grave with Cybertruck. It's more like, yeah, I got a free funeral with my Cybertruck. The whole 3mm thick metal paneling also means it's basically illegal everywhere that has regulations for pedestrian safety.
If you're watching this video anywhere other than America, you can't buy one.
And so people say like, well, why'd you make it bulletproof?
Pedestrian protection laws and the radius of those panel edges means it'll only go on sale in the US.
Smooth body surfaces, clearance to stiff underlying structures, and energy-absorbing bumpers are some vehicle characteristics that can help protect pedestrians in the event of an impact.
You see, if a car hits a person, their head inevitably ends up hitting the bonnet of the car. So in most civilized places, fine, they say, well, make the car bonnets kind of spongy, because that way they won't needlessly kill people. But Musk says, nah, maximum body count.
I'm like, why not?
Hey, and here's a great idea. Why don't we make our truck a heavy-duty guillotine almost custom designed to cut pedestrians in half? Something that would be illegal almost everywhere in the world.
I'm like, why not?
Yes, Musk, being the philanthropist that he is, decided to undesign all of the pedestrian safety features from the truck. But he's still there boasting about the cold, roll hard and Tesla-designed stainless steel.
So we actually had to come up with a special, ultra-strong, Tesla-designed steel alloy.
No, it's just regular stainless steel. There's nothing fancy about it.
So this alloy, this metal did not exist before.
I assure you, all the metallurgy about stainless steel was worked out a long time ago.
We needed something that you could actually manufacture, but that would be have basically no corrosion.
Oh yeah, that would be what do they call it? Stainless steel.
That didn't need paint.
Yeah, that would be stainless steel.
But you can still make it in volume. And part of the reason that it has this angular shape is you can't actually stamp these body panels. The body panels would break the stamping machine.
He just wants to say that it's the same thing they make the starships out of. Fine. It's regular stainless steel. But here's the other reason why you wouldn't want to make your car out of 3mm thick, hardened steel. Because you want the car to crumple in the event of a crash. It means that your body slows down over a longer period of time, which means that you have less chance of serious injury or death. So here I have the crash tests of an F-150 going straight into a wall at 35 miles an hour, and they've synced that up with the crash test for the Cybertruck, which lasted a fraction of a second in the presentation event.
Gravity is so low, it doesn't roll over.
You'll see why they were so keen to gloss over this. So I put a red spot on the head of the Cybertruck driver and a blue spot on the head of the F-150 driver. And what you'll see is when they hit the wall, it takes about 4 times longer for the guy in the F-150's head to come to a stop. That means it's 4 times less of an impact for the driver in the F-150 than in the Cybertruck. Or another way is the Cybertruck is so rigid that it's about 4 times worse in a crash than a regular truck. And as always, Musk proudly boasts about how he made it worse to the cheers of the crowd.
The steel exoskeleton, it actually has more torsional rigidity than a sports car. It has more torsional stiffness than a McLaren P1. So that's a big deal.
Of course, that torsional rigidity will make it much worse in grazing impacts, which were not shown for the Cybertruck. I mean, would a 35 mile per hour collision be fatal for the driver? Difficult to say. His neck certainly gets popped around a lot. And this is 100% all of the footage of the crash test that Tesla released. I've got a suspicion it gets a lot worse when you actually see the rebound. For comparison, the F-150 has all the footage of the rebound as well. So now we're going to take a look at how much the head rotates during the crash. And you'll see that the guy in the Cybertruck has his head basically bent backwards. And that's where the footage just cuts off. But I'm going to play this one last time just so you can appreciate the awesome wobble on that stupidly long windscreen wiper. And it's at this point I found out that the Cybertruck is not actually going to be made out of 3mm stainless steel like Musk said, but it's now going to be made out of up to 1.8mm stainless steel, which now starts to make all sorts of sense. You know, like initially they told Musk that, yeah, that's impossible.
We have a car here that experts said was impossible, that experts said would never be made.
And then proceeded to find out that the experts were right and made it out of thinner metal. It also accounts for why there is no way that this looks like 3mm plate in the crash test. You know, let's just do a comparison between the roughly 0.6mm thick hood of the Ford 150 and the hood of the Cybertruck. And yeah, it looks pretty wafer thin for the hood of the Cybertruck. And yet here Musk is telling you that the exoskeleton made up of panels like that is what's giving it all its structural rigidity.
Oh, and I should say also, because of the steel exoskeleton, it actually has more torsional rigidity than a sports car.
It also makes so much sense how those panels look like they're all wobbly in shallow light. You know, that they're not actually really that flat. Whereas 3mm plate, I assure you, you can get very, very flat. 1.5mm is also now just over about twice the thickness of a regular car body. At that point, it's not really a terribly convincing load-bearing exoskeleton.
And it's really, the internals are as advanced as the externals. It's a whole new step change in the technology.
It looks like they basically just deleted the crumple zone out of a unibody and stuck some slightly thicker panels on it. Now at this point someone will say, well, doesn't this mean that maybe there's someone at Tesla who actually cares about pedestrian safety and that maybe they've just made their their front thinner so it won't kill as many pedestrians. You know, they've learned from this.
Smooth body surfaces, clearance to stiff underlying structures, and energy-absorbing bumpers.
Then you actually see what it's like under that metal plate. And no, it is the most custom designed to kill pedestrians thing ever. You know, that whole
clearance to stiff underlying structures.
No, let's put the hardest, most rigid structure that we can directly under the hood. This isn't just a guillotine designed to cut pedestrians in half. It's a reinforced guillotine designed to cut pedestrians in half.
Trucks have been the same for a very long time. Like 100 years. Trucks have been basically the same.
Look, when most sensible people come and see something that's designed for over 100 years and has converged on one functional form,
It's actually hard to tell. It's hard to tell which is which, really.
They think, there must be a reason why they all look like that. But instead, Musk comes along and says, yeah, but is there any way we can make this harder and more expensive to build and more dangerous for its occupants and for other people, and at the same time make it worse for the environment? Now, that's some powerful high-level thinking there. Truly an engineering genius.
He's the idol of all engineers. I mean, like the ultimate nerd, geek, like what have you. He's Nikola Tesla of our day and age.
Elon had this ability to look at the world and go, this is a real problem that's going to happen in 20 years.
And that's today's video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, maybe consider dropping a like on it. Maybe consider subscribing. And if you really like the work of this channel, maybe consider supporting it through Patreon. And thanks for watching.